purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives. Thank you for coming. For those of you that don't know who I am Winston Young. I am your host for tonight. And I was given back this mic that I handed out last October. And then pieces fell together to create this show that you're at right now. To give you a bit of insight as to what the show is about, I grew up with a massive dysfunctional belief that I needed permission to speak. And it kind of looked like this. Someone would be sitting there and you just stand very attentively waiting for your moment, and they would be annoyed that you're standing there waiting for a moment. You get your moment, and then they just sit back and said, okay, so I know that you've been waiting, so talk. And I'm sure you would understand at that moment, in your mind, you're like, well, you're not really listening to what I have to say. And then you don't say it. And then that little voice that you have just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and disappears. And then you grow into an adult, and then you want your voice to be heard, and you severely overcompensate. And I overcompensated in the way of wanting to be that guy that everyone shot in a photograph wanted to be. It's like you wanted that superstardom. And I didn't understand I actually achieved that until someone came up to me and said, Winston, why do you always need to be photographed with whomever that may be? To me, that was just normal until I finally started doing some personal development work and realized that all that was born from this belief that I needed permission to speak and that no one was listening. And if they wanted to listen, no one really cared. So I just kept that message inside of me. So the purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives. There's no theme involved. The people that come up here have selected a story on their own, and they're going to share it with us to connect your heart to their heart, to create a connection and to create community within this space, and then have it grow as the shows go on.
Open 7 days a week, located at the south end of the Pattullo Bridge at 12375 King George Boulevard in Surrey.
Foodie World has 75,000 square feet of imported and domestic products, with a large selection dedicated to our Filipino kababayans, with an in-house butcher, variety of seafood, and produce from around the globe. Open every day until midnight. Foodie World, 1 block east of number 3 Road off Sea Island Way in Richmond.
There is photography and video recording allowed, but I do ask that you refrain from doing it for the sole purpose that these people coming on stage are freaked out enough and they don't need a camera recording them as they move around. And if you do take a picture, please turn off the flash so you don't distract them and they lose their train of thought. The second thing is a trigger warning. All of the stories are personal in nature, and some of them might encroach on very dark topics of abuse, addiction, self-harm, things that might trigger you. So if you get triggered and you need a timeout, there's a beautiful lounge at the back and around the corner. You can go there, give yourself a timeout. Okay, so I'm going to put this hat on. So give me a second to put this hat on, and we'll get the show started. Okay. Yay, now we can get going. I grew up in a world where well, well, to be blunt, it was racist, and I didn't have a support network. I was one of 4 Asian kids in the high school, and to constantly walk into a room and have people say, "What are you doing in here? You don't belong in here. What are you sitting in the front of the class for? Just go away. Just go hide. You don't deserve to be here." Growing up in that type of environment, it wears on you. But if you don't have any way of letting it out, you start believing that this is true. You start believing that this is how life is. And so it became that way. You grow up, you get used to it, you build up a thicker skin. But in the back of my mind, it never went away. And as I look back now on my glorious life and just see how twisted and demented I truly became, it took a lot of work to undo all that work. But by doing so, it took one moment in my life, and that secret day was May 3rd, 2013. It was a Friday where I looked at myself in the mirror after a serious bender and told myself, if I didn't change my way, I'll be dead within the next 5 years. Death is a massive motivator, as you can imagine, but it took a hell of a lot of courage for me to go up and make a phone call to someone that I hardly knew to hold me accountable. And I said, I need help, I need out, and I have no one to turn to. And he said, sure. And I, to this day, don't believe he said yes. But he did, and everything changed. So in that one moment, and I'm sure you've all felt this, in that one little moment where you sit there and you're like, I don't know, and you want to puke because you're so afraid of asking for that help. But for that heartbeat moment of courage, your whole life can change. As you could probably paint a little picture from my little excerpts earlier, that I was different, just a little bit. To use some harsh language, yeah, we were different. We were the only Chinese family in a world of white people, and I consider myself white. But you didn't look it, and we didn't have much. Looking back, I thank my parents for doing what they could to give us the opportunity to live the life that we have right now. But at that younger age, we didn't understand that, or I didn't understand that. My sister is much more wise, she's a lot wiser than I am. I didn't understand that at that age. And all I saw was what I couldn't have and what I couldn't be and what I couldn't do, and people were telling me what you can't do and can't have and you don't belong. And so all I wanted to do was belong. All I wanted to do was be part of that crowd over there, or that crowd over there, or be seen, be acknowledged. Now I understand I was just not wanting to be invisible. But why? Just because I looked different? Because I was different? I don't know. I didn't have any guidance given to me at that age to really set me one way or another. I had no one to talk to. I had no one to really help process all these thoughts that started festering and warping in my mind as to, yeah, you know what, Winston, that's just all an illusion. Let it go and go that way. But I couldn't tell illusion from fact. And as I moved forward, it just got worse and worse and worse until it gets to the point where your existence is dictated by everything that goes on inside this head that I created on my very own without any guidance, that I held as an absolute. So if I walked up and I said something, or I looked at things a certain way under a certain perspective, that's because I created this lens that I see the world as. But then the question is, do I fit into this world, or do I be who I am and not care about this world at all? Unfortunately, I've never had anyone wise enough to ask me that question, to have that discussion with me. So I invite my sister, Christine Hylands, up to have that conversation with you.
My name is Jeevan Bath. Suki Bath has been selling quality pre-owned vehicles for 37 years. All of our vehicles come with a certified inspection report, and history reports are available for all vehicles. All of our sales staff is fully licensed. Visit sukibathmotors.com today.
Located 1 block north of St. Paul's Hospital, Downtown Denture Center features complete and partial teeth restoration options. With 35 years experience, Anthony Chung offers mobile services and emergency repair consultation 24 hours a day. Downtown Denture Center, just off Nelson at 970 Burrard in the lobby of the Electra Building.
I gotta do a little bit of prop setup first.
And she has no notes. That's amazing.
Well, no, I have them there.
Oh.
So, 15 years ago, my life changed. I became a mom. And the moment that my son Sean was born, I knew this world became a better place. Sean, how can I describe him? He was curious, mischievous, active as hell, and kept me on my toes. But most importantly for me, Sean was compassionate. Sean was the type of kid who hugged everybody. Sean was also the type of kid that if there were dandelions all in the park, he'd pick them out and he'd give them to every single stranger he saw. Sean was also the same kid. He would pick up a pot of dirt, sticks, a bunch of sticks in it, like poke a bunch of sticks in it, hop over to anybody, like his grandmother, and sing, "Happy birthday to you!" Every bug, every single bug was gently picked up and put back on a leaf, regardless if it needed to be there or not. That's my Sean. When Sean was 4 years old, he and I were walking home. We're actually walking back to the SkyTrain station after a concert. And it was a busy street. And as we were walking down, he looks down and he sees a young lady sitting on the sidewalk with her head down. In front of her legs was a sign. Now, Sean, being 4, he was at an age where he's learning how to read. And he loved every opportunity to point out words when he could. "Mommy, that says help." "Good job, Sean. Good job reading." He looks at the sign. "That says need food." "Good job, baby. Really good job reading the sign." You can see that some thoughts in his mind returning. "Mommy, why does she need help and food?" I had to explain to Sean that she might not have enough food to eat. And so she's hoping that someone's going to help her out. "You think she liked juice box?" "I'm not sure, honey, but you can go give her one if you want." "Here, you can have juice box." The young lady, she picks up the juice box from Sean and opens it up and ravenously drinks it as it was the best thing she's ever had in such a long time. Sean comes back, "Wow, she really likes juice box." You can only imagine what happened next. "Can I give her another juice box?" "Baby, these juice boxes are yours. You can give them to her if you want. But that means you have to wait until we get to the store to buy more." "Here, you can have the juice box because we can buy more." There were so many people walking on the street that day, not taking notice of this young lady who's literally hiding from the world, except for a 4-year-old who made no judgment on a person who was simply asking for help and needing some food. That's my Sean. So time goes on and things change. Sean didn't really change. You know, he's pretty much the same. But those around him, they kind of did. So Sean's 15 now. He's a tall, lanky, skinny kid. He doesn't really have that much of an eye for fashion. He doesn't really comb his hair. He still wears shorts, even though it's January. He doesn't really care what he looks like when he walks out of the house. Sean's an avid reader. I'm probably the only parent in the entire world who's ever punished their child by saying, "No more reading this weekend, your Kobo is gone." Sean his imagination is absolutely wild. When he tells me the things that he's thinking of, I can't keep up with them because he talks so fast. I've asked him, "Baby, can you please either write a story for me or draw me a picture? I so badly want to see what's in your world." Sean talks very, very, very fast. I had to remind him that every syllable has a purpose, and please let each syllable live its life and live its purpose. Sean loves to sing and sing and sing, and is all in tune. But we just have to kind of be a little bit mindful as to where we're singing. Like, you know, during a test, not exactly the most appropriate time to start singing something from the musical theater that you're practicing right now. Sean, let me see, what else do I know? Like, there's so much about him. I can tell you so much about him. Sean is very imaginative. But with that, he tends to overreact, and he also tends to exaggerate. Sean, his anger, it sometimes comes out pretty fast and sometimes pretty harsh. And unfortunately, when you have a behavior like that, some people like to go up and kind of poke at you just to get a reaction. Sean is a little bit different, and because he acts a bit differently, some people don't treat him very well. Most people, kids and adults, do find him different. Because of those differences, though, they're sometimes a bit mean to him. Sean doesn't notice it, though, but I do. When Sean was in grade 7, there was a kid in his class who came up to him and said, "Why don't you do our class a favor and not come to the Christmas concert?" Sean looks at the kid and says, "What's the purpose of your words?" You see, what we taught our boys is that every word that comes out of your mouth has a purpose, and you need to consider what that purpose is. Is it hurtful? Is it harmful? Or is it helpful? Needless to say, the boy didn't know how to respond. But this other young girl in the class goes up to Sean, "Oh, Sean, just ignore him. He didn't mean, he was just joking." And knowing Sean, he shrugged his shoulders, smiled at the joke, and accepted the reason that was given and went on his way. When I heard about this incident, I went and spoke to his teacher. Most of the time in parent-teacher interviews, it had nothing to do with Sean academically. It all had to do with how Sean was doing socially. Again, he is a little bit different. Need to make sure things were okay. His teacher, during our discussion, asked me, "Have you ever considered having Sean tested for autism?" Not really. But even if he did get tested, what good would that do? He would get some support. For what? If it weren't for the fact that he's the B that he has in PE, he's a straight A student, what kind of support does he need? I'm worried about Sean socially. You know, he is heading into high school, and I'm afraid about how kids are going to treat him. I'm thinking, is Sean being rude? Is Sean being disrespectful? Is Sean causing problems? Like, what's the problem? Sean behaves a bit differently. He doesn't really seem to read body language, so he doesn't really know when somebody's being mean to him. And he doesn't really know when somebody's had enough. Okay. Yeah, okay, I get that. So what's the problem? I listened to the teacher, and I understood where she was coming from. She was really worried about how Sean was going to be treated. She didn't want him to be bullied in high school, and I really appreciated that. But where's the problem? In our conversation, I thanked the teacher for all the care and support that she does give to Sean. And I really appreciate that she pointed out something that we need to work on. However, I had no intentions at all in getting my son tested because he doesn't need a label. He doesn't need an excuse. All he needs is to be accepted for who he is. A few days later, Sean comes home from school, and I can tell he's a little bit agitated about something that happened. I said, hey, baby, what happened? Apparently, there was another incident with the same child. And this boy, he went up to this girl in the class and said, you know what? You are an absolute disgrace to your family. You should go kill yourself. So again, Sean, not really being able to read into words, one thing he did notice, he noticed the girl started crying. And this girl was his friend. So he knew what this child said was mean. And I said, okay. Thinking, knowing Sean in the superhero ways, I wanted to protect everybody, I asked him, did you say something? He says, I asked him why he would choose to say something so mean. I asked him what the purpose of his words was. And that's it, right? I went to the school and spoke to his teacher again, because I needed to make sure that Sean's reaction was appropriate. And that there wasn't anything else I had to discuss with him. His teacher said that, yes, Sean did get very, very upset about what happened. But his response was nothing I had to be concerned about. She also told me that this other child was just being a kid. And to that I replied, if that's what normal behavior is, I'll deal with the autistic child. I will be the first to admit that Sean is different. And he does behave a little bit weird sometimes, and there's times I raise my eyebrows at him too. But, this is where my nose. Sean could be mildly autistic. And I'm okay with that. Because you know what? It's not a fault. It's an absolute gift. The fact that he may not be able to read body language has actually been helpful more than harmful for him. Sean is not an ordinary child. Sean is an extraordinary child. Now, everybody tries to fit in society tries to fit everybody into this proverbial box. Sean has a box. He's been given one. But I guarantee you, he's not in the box. He's probably standing on top of the box. He's either crawled underneath the box. No, he might be lying on the side of the box. He's probably cut some windows and and a door in the box. He's everywhere but in the box. And I absolutely love it. Now, here's the thing. Should he change? Does he need to change? Does he need to fit in? Is it so important that he fits into society? The way I take it, though, I'd rather my baby take his differences to enhance society. Buddy, give the gift of the world that you are. So my question is, I know that Sean is ready for society, but my question is society ready for Sean? Thank you.
It's the first time she didn't go over by 5 minutes. My next speaker went through a similar process, and I very much relate to what she has to say, so I invite her up to share. Sasha Herman.
Okay, hi everybody. It's nice to be back up here. I was up here in July, similar theme to a lot of what Winston talked about. Talking about something different today. And we touched upon it already, but just a show of hands, how many people saw Oprah's acceptance speech at the Golden Globes? Okay, so she talks a lot and she builds a lot on the Me Too. And I actually watched it with a bit of a mixed reaction, and so a lot of what Allison was saying resonated with me. Because I'm not sure about the movement part about it. It did raise questions, and I think that's the part I relate to, is what does this all mean? But for a lot of people, it really resonated, and I think at the heart of it, I really like where we're trying to go. And what I got from her message, the part that did land, was this idea of speaking up and speaking out and owning our voice primarily.
Open 7 days a week, located at the south end of the Pattullo Bridge at 12375 King George Boulevard in Surrey.
Located 1 block north of St. Paul's Hospital, Downtown Denture Center features complete and partial teeth restoration options. With 35 years experience, Anthony Chung offers mobile services and emergency repair consultation 24 hours a day. Downtown Denture Center, just off Nelson at 970 Burrard in the lobby of the Electra Building.
Welcome po sa Surrey Mitsubishi, Surrey's only Mitsubishi dealership. Marami kaming selection from all makes and models, and all trade-ins are welcome. Garantisado ang financing, plus meron kaming certified warranty technicians for all your services and repairs. Matatagpuan sa 104 and 138 and at surreymitsubishi.com.